Hi, Liz Gaines here from GigaOM with Tom Romary, the CEO of Yapta. Tom's joining us in San Francisco for a short visit.
That's right.
Did you buy your ticket online using Yapta?
Absolutely. In fact, I tracked a number of flights on Virgin, Alaska, United, and locked in on Virgin.
Yeah, and then did the price go down after you bought?
In this case, it didn't, which, you know, what we find is about 13% of the time that happens. But
and then the little known fact is you can actually get a refund, which is what your company helps you do.
Exactly right. But great flight down to the Bay Area. And what we do is we help people plan travel, plan flights and hotels by giving them really easy tools to use to find flights and hotels, and then allowing them to track the pricing. So before you buy, you can cherry pick 3 or 4 flights, in this case Seattle to San Francisco, that you would actually want to be on that meet your needs in terms of schedule or favorite airline. And if the price goes down, you get an alert. And then after you buy, as you pointed out, Liz, if the price goes down after you buy, you can get a credit back for the difference. So if I bought a $500 ticket on Alaska Airlines, let's say, and it went to $300.
From Seattle. You should not have bought that ticket.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in that case, I think I ended up paying.
Right, hypothetical.
Yeah. You know, the real price was about $400.
All right, so it was a last minute trip.
Yeah, well.
You got first class.
I did not get first class. $400 is a lot traditionally, but the $400 price, if it dropped to $300, let's say, Alaska gives you a $100 travel credit for the difference. Interestingly enough, what we're seeing right now is that average ticket prices have gone up from last year because the airlines have cut back capacity so much. But there's still extreme volatility. And that's really the whole purpose of Yapta, which stands for Your Amazing Personal Travel Assistant.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, it has a meaning. But what we do is we know that pricing in travel is so dynamic that anytime you're shopping, you're getting a spot market price. And what we do is recognize that that price is going to change over time. It's going to go up and down. And 46% of the time, people tracking prices on Yapta before they buy will get an alert for a price drop. And so in the case of when I was planning this trip, I actually got an alert for a price drop on Virgin because my loyalties are to Alaska. I used to work there, but Virgin came down in price. I got the alert, bought the Virgin ticket for $200 one way. I actually bought 2 one-way tickets. And then the price went back up after, the flight was sold out because they've cut back so much capacity.
So I'm sure you are one of the best people in the world to get travel tips from, but I was really interested in talking today about processing data and how you are able to, in real time, bring in all these feeds, figure out what they mean, and then send out these alerts. So I guess let's start out with getting the information. Where do you get your price information from?
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting framework, is that we are in the data business, airline pricing data, hotel pricing data, and we get it from a variety of places, but primarily on air, direct from the airlines themselves. And so we have data feeds from the major airlines. We also have access to what's called a global distribution system, which are kind of 1980s vintage mainframe technology, but there's a wealth of pricing data, real-time data that we can get from those systems. And we'll go out several times a day on a specific flight. And let's say that you want to fly up to Seattle or go to Hawaii. Probably more fun to go to Hawaii this time of year. You can pick 3 or 4 flights to Hawaii, and we'll go out 2 or 3 times a day, depending on where it is in the booking curve, and check the price for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And if the price goes down $200 after you started tracking, you'll get an alert. It'll bring you back to buy the ticket at the lower price. And so we source as much data as we can from the airlines, because they really have the best information on pricing. But we also have alternative sources. For the long tail of 250 airlines that we track prices on globally, we don't have direct access to all 250 airlines, so we use the global distribution system to get that.
How do the airlines feel about giving you this data? I mean, they have it seems to me, I mean, maybe I'm just an angry consumer, but it seems like a fair amount of their business is in confusing me about what things cost and selling, well, I know you used to work for an airline.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of these stories.
From my perspective, it seems like, there's 200 people on a flight and they've all paid a different price for it, and the airline loves that. So why do they want to give you their data?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, and you're not alone. There's a lot of frustration around the dynamic nature of air pricing and hotel pricing, and I'll give you the airline perspective. They view a flight that leaves tomorrow that you need to be on as a very different product than a flight that leaves 3 months from now. That you have some flexibility to decide, which airline. And there's different rules and restrictions around those prices. One may be fully refundable, fully changeable, another may be more restricted, and therefore you get a lower price. But the real nature of the beast is they have these very sophisticated yield management systems that match supply and demand and are built to maximize revenue on every flight that goes out. The net result is you see a 5-to-1 ratio from the lowest price to the highest price. So that $200 seat, maybe $1,000 another day, and then it may drop back down to $400. And to the traveler, you're confused and frustrated. But to the airline, they view it as just that's how we do business. It's a different product at different times, depending.
But isn't your product changing the way that they do business?
Because
you're making that information available, and it may have been available before, but not in a way that was that a customer could process.
Yeah, this is clearly a more transparent way of getting pricing information. And I would say there's a spectrum of airlines where some of the major airlines really understand that price transparency is a good thing. It builds customer trust, customer loyalty, and at the end of the day, all the airlines understand that what we're doing is helping people buy tickets, and we're sending them to the site. And so if you think about how Yapta works, you create a wish list. I mean, you basically are saying, I want to go to Hawaii, let's pick 3 or 4 flights.
Right.
And
you're going to spend money.
You're going to spend money.
Okay, so
and we're going to.
But honestly, I mean, do the airlines try to mess with you some of the time and throw you off the scent?
Oh yeah, me personally as well. No, they've tried to.
No, I mean Yapta.
Yeah. Well, they typically they aren't trying to confuse customers, but the process of pricing dynamics are that customers do get confused and frustrated, and so they don't change their pricing for us though. I mean, there's no, when they put a price out,
but they'll give you, they're okay with you giving you access to.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, because we're sending them bookings. And one thing we do when we send a booking direct to an airline, it's a much more efficient way for them to sell a ticket than selling it through a travel agency. So they like the fact that we have customers tracking flights that ultimately get purchased directly on the airlines, and that's good. It's a lower cost distribution for them versus paying a commission to a travel agency, whether it's an online travel agency or traditional. At the same time, I think they recognize that the post-purchase refunds are a way to get people to come back. So when you buy a $400 ticket and it drops to $200, and you get a $200 voucher, good for 12 months.
That means you have to spend again.
There's only one way to use that voucher. It's the same as.
It's not cash.
Yeah, it's just it's Wheaties putting a 50-cent coupon in their box to come buy another box of Wheaties, and it doesn't affect their cash flow at all. But I think it's a great question to ask because not every airline likes to have that much transparency in pricing, and we did make out of the gate when we launched 3 years ago a number of airlines nervous about what information were we providing, and what we proved through the data was that we're selling airline tickets in a very efficient way for them, and so they actually like what we see. And in addition, some airlines have told us that because 30% of our customers are looking at international destinations and they're picking, in general, the best flights, the nonstop flights, the average yield in terms of ticket price, the average ticket price coming from Yapta, in many cases is higher than what they get on their own websites.
So you have a good demographic of travelers.
We do.
You have smart travelers.
Frequent travelers who are buying nonstop flights on their preferred carriers, and it's really more about value than price. You may be willing to spend $200 more for a nonstop to London versus a one-stop through Chicago, but you don't want to be
definitely through Chicago.
Yeah,
you always get stuck in Chicago.
Avoid Chicago, avoid Atlanta, especially in the winter. But if you're willing to spend $200 more, that's great. But you don't want to spend $2,000 when that same seat sold for $1,500, and we'll alert you to when there's a price drop. So, it's really about giving you the best product at the right price. And so that's really what we've been able to do is work with the airlines to show them that it's an efficient way to send bookings. And on the refund side, it's a very efficient way to generate customer loyalty, do the right thing, and get repeat customers.
So what are the opportunities for Yapta to grow? I mean, there are, clearly the online travel space is very active. There's great brands in it, and then there's up and coming ones as well. Like Faircast was bought by Microsoft and is now really a central part of Bing, which helps do a slightly different take on what you're doing. They help you predict when is the best time to fly, right?
Yeah.
But what are the opportunities for you to grow now? I mean, you're still a pretty small company, a hungry young startup. What do you want?
Small, hungry, and growing. Yeah. Well, I think one of the ways that we've built a nice ecosystem with over 800,000 users. We've done over 600 million price checks for our customers, and we've delivered to them over $300 million in savings to date over the last 3.5 years. So through our price alerts, saving people money before they buy on air and hotel, and delivering refunds and travel vouchers post-purchase, we've saved people a lot of money. The growth path for us is to continue focusing on distribution through partnerships. And recently we announced a partnership with TripIt and with Kayak, where we're providing price tracking services for both of those very well-respected travel companies. In the case of Kayak, they're quite a bit larger than Yapta and TripIt combined. TripIt is really around itinerary management and helping you during your journey.
So it's a complimentary service.
Very complimentary. You can import an itinerary into TripIt on Yapta.com. Just send your itinerary to plans@tripit.com and it ends up on Yapta. Or you can go to TripIt, import your itinerary in TripIt, and you'll see a button that says check for refunds. You've already booked the ticket. That ends up sending Yapta a customer, and we provide the service via TripIt.
So the big plan right now is growth by partnership?
Yeah, that's one way. And the Kayak relationship is another one that we announced about a month ago. We decided our best focus is to stay really concentrating on doing the best job on price tracking, price assurance, delivering alerts on airfare and hotels. And rather than reinvent the wheel and build another great search site, we decided to have Kayak power our search. And in return, they think we're doing the best job in price tracking in the industry, so we're powering price tracking on sidestep.com and kayak.com. And that creates what that really does for the partner. When you combine search and price tracking, you're engaging the customer, they're creating a wish list. You get a purchase right off of search, but if you're not ready to buy, in most cases you hopefully wrote it down on a piece of paper and maybe you come back. With the button of track price drops, you now have a wish list that engages the customer, and that provides a 20% lift in conversion. But when you think about on our site, people are planning trips 60, 90 days in advance. During that consideration stage, it's a great time to cross-sell hotels and packages, and that provides really a way for major companies like Kayak, potentially Orbitz, Expedia, Travelocity, Priceline as well, to create a advertising and cross-sell model for their transactional business. And so that is...
So you want to be a friend to everybody?
Well, what we're doing is unique. I think we want to get customers from everybody. So we'll be a friend too. But we want to provide a service that's meaningful to the traveler in terms of delivering savings, and it's meaningful to the business partner in boosting their conversion rates and also building their advertising businesses. Because a lot of these major traditional online travel agencies are so focused on transactions, and they're realizing there's a lot of money and a lot less risk in creating advertising businesses. They already have the eyeballs. What can they do to get more ARPU? And when you're selling hotel and air and you're an agency like Orbitz, Expedia, Travelocity, Priceline, there's a lot of customer service costs, and so they love advertising businesses. And that's what we provide, is an advertising model that plugs into transactional business. But that's our growth path. In addition, we'll continue to rely on our customers to tell the story of Yapta. We don't have enough money. You mentioned we're small, we're growing, but we're venture funded, first round capital, Voyager capital. We don't spend a lot on advertising to acquire customers, but we do use our customers themselves to tell the story, and via word of mouth and social media. So we announced Twitter alerts. We integrated, not only get email alerts, but get price drop alerts via Twitter. That's created a way for us to get more buzz when people retweet to their friends, hey, $200 price drop to Mexico, who wants to go? So Facebook, we've integrated a Facebook feature that allows you to flaunt your savings to yourself.
You said you were down in town for a social media travel industry conference.
Yeah.
Did you take any learnings from that?
I did.
It sounds like you guys are already on that bandwagon. But
Yeah, well, I think we're early. As an industry, we're early, and we're no experts in this. What we've done is we've experimented, but it was a great conference. It was travel and social media. I for Travel is the company that put it on, and I learned a lot. Basically, what I learned was that, it's a great way to get your brand conversation out there. So you can hear corporate speak. I'd much rather have our customers talking about Yapta than me, because it's much more credible. And I think what we learned is that it can be an effective tool to provide customer support, to get product feedback. There's a really powerful ways for you to get a two-way conversation going with your customers using social media, and it also is a platform to be discovered. And here's a great example. We were able to source a major promotional partner, Marriott, through Twitter. They saw people tweeting about Yapta and savings and what it was doing, and they approached us with, hey, why don't we sell some hotels to people tracking flights, and we'll do a promotion. And
so they're an advertiser?
They're now an advertiser, and they're also a promotional partner. Secondly, we ended up on CNN national news because of a customer's positive comment on Facebook and our Facebook fans. And and again, we're not experts in it, but we decided to dabble, and it's paid off.
All right. Well, thanks very much for coming and speaking with us today.
Yeah, no, this was great, Liz, and keep traveling. I know you're an active traveler yourself, and hopefully we'll save you some money.
Thanks.
Yeah, take care.